It's time for another behind the scenes shoot at Stuhr Museum, where we're going to be talking about the Bell Cottage, otherwise known as Henry Fonda's birth house. I'm here with Casanova, who's our Director of Interpretive Resources. And man, this wallpaper is fantastic.
Isn't it? It's very nice.
Yeah, the wallpaper has always kind of struck me in this house as very interesting. So we're going to do something a little different. A lot of people have been inside this house. A lot of people have seen it. So we're going to do a tour, but we're going to do it in the context of taking some frequently asked questions and getting good answers to them as we move through the house. So, Kay, this is real quick. Let's lay some basic information. This is in Railroad Town, known as the Bell Cottage, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and why is that?
It's known as the Bell Cottage because Henry wasn't even a twinkle in anybody's eye in the 1890s.
That's a good way to look at it. And what purpose does it serve in Railroad Town then?
It's an example of just a really nice small middle class cottage, and it's really cool that we have this example of the cottage. We have the houses all show a little bit different layouts that we have here. So we can show different living styles. We don't have a really good example of low middle class or lower class housing, and we don't really have a good example of upper class housing either. But this is just one of the different facets of a middle class, probably closer to a lower end middle class home.
Okay. So with that being said, let's dive into some of the frequently asked questions you get about Fonda and the family, and since that is going to be the subject of one of the Stuhr Crazy podcasts coming up here in just a few weeks. That's going to be episode 4. We just recorded it yesterday, and so this is kind of fresh in our minds. So tell us a little bit about what people come into this house and ask about.
Well, one of the questions that they ask is when and where were Henry's parents married at? The Fondas actually had removed from Fonda, New York, and came out west to the Omaha area, and they were married in Omaha, and they were married in 1903 in the Church of God, the Church of the Good Shepherd in Omaha.
Okay.
And it was shortly after that they came out to the Grand Island area.
Do we know what brought them out to Grand Island?
William was a Unita biscuit salesman at the time. The family was in Omaha, was actually involved in printing, but William Brace decided to venture out as a salesman, and so they came from Omaha to Grand Island shortly after the marriage and settled in first in the Palmer House, which was a hotel in downtown Grand Island.
Okay, I'm sorry, you need a biscuit?
Yeah, Unita biscuit was a very popular biscuit or cracker that you could purchase in the late 19th, early 20th century.
Okay, I'd never heard of that before. Wonderful.
Well, it's a really catchy name.
It is.
Unita biscuit.
I think I would purchase that today. So, real quick, I want to focus. You've got some research here. This is a photo of the house, and it's been recreated or interpreted right over there.
That particular picture that you focused on was a picture of the interior of the house when the Fondas were living in it in the 1904-5 period. So that's how the museum was able to recreate the shelf that we have above the piano. We do not have the cloth portiere, which that's what this is. Up here, the thing that goes across this opening is a portiere. That's actually a turned acorn portiere, but they had a curtain that divided it, and that's what you can see in the picture. So that was just a small attempt by the museum to recreate a little bit of what the house looked like when the Fondas lived in it.
Okay, and that's one of the questions you get is when did the Fondas live here? Did Henry live here? Was he born here? That sort of thing.
Well, fortunately, the Grand Island Daily Independent helped us out with that because they reported that W.B. Fonda had decided to go into housekeeping, and accordingly, he has procured a residence on West Division Street where he and his family will be at home to their friends. So that occurred in 1904 in May. about a year before Henry was born.
All right. And he didn't live here long when he did live here, correct?
No, he was born here in May 16th, 1905. And the family, in December of that year, he was baptized at the St. Stephen Episcopal Church. And then in February of the following year, the family removed back to Omaha.
All right.
So Henry's activity in the house was very limited.
And then, of course, he moved to Omaha and
Yes, that's where he
grew up
in
and got interested in acting and all of
Correct.
that. Excellent. So, last thing I want to touch on in Railroad Town, this is, I think of Christmas a lot when I think of this house, but
Yes.
it's open all year.
Yes.
Okay. And we usually have, you get that stove going and you know, cookies
Yes.
right there. That's part of the deal. Do people, this is one of our, 5 houses in town?
If
Four.
you really get technical, we've got 6 because you got to count the telephone exchange of the doctors
Oh, sure.
as well as the 5 other ones. So that'd be 7. And of all of the houses, we only have one house currently that does not have a functional cook stove.
Okay. And we were talking a little bit beforehand too about some of the changes that have happened at this house when it was moved out to the grounds.
Well, one thing that happened, this house remained to be rental property pretty much throughout its entirety of its life. When we got to the World War II period of time, there was a tremendous housing shortage and we had the Army ammunition plant here. And so the house was subdivided and the rooms were rented out individually. We do not have an understanding as if there was a common kitchen used or how the house functioned in that manner, but we were given to understand that there were three separate rentals in this house during that period of time.
So 3 people just basically using it as sleeping space and a shared kitchen.
Correct.
So I imagine this house has undergone quite the few changes over the years.
Yes, rentals have a tendency to get beaten up, but one significant change is this large opening here that goes into the bedroom of the house, which is the single largest bedroom in the house. But this opening was actually a regular door opening. We had a conversation, a lady who had rented the house once said it was just a regular door, and right outside the door was a floor grate with one of those in-floor heaters, and you always had to make sure you had something on your feet because you'd burn your feet when the winter
Oh my.
when those things cook out the heat pretty well.
All right.
One of the other questions that we get asked a lot is if Henry owned the house. Well, he was an infant, so no.
Probably not.
He never.
He was
never-
accomplished, but not that accomplished. Yeah.
And we also don't have any furnishings that belong to the family. We're fortunate that they shared a couple copies of the interior pictures with us when Henry helped to make this house come out to the museum back in the 60s.
Now, real quick, we had mentioned during the podcast that the Fonda family came out in the early 90s, was it?
92.
92.
92. There was a larger museum tribute to Henry Fonda at that period of time. Henry, the tribute included the entire family, Peter and his wife and family, and Jane, and she was married to Ted Turner at the time, came out. They dedicated the highway in front of the museum as the Henry Fonda Memorial Highway.
Still is that
And
today.
there was
and,
a dinner gala in the Stuhr building as well. So the family spent a great deal of time in the house while they were here, checking everything out, and they. I was here, so it was really a fun day. They really enjoyed it.
Yep. And you told one more story. Was it this piano that you heard being
It
played?
wasn't
or was
this
it?
particular piano
Okay.
because we've had to change out a couple times, but I was outside during that period of time we had 2 interpreters in the house, but I could hear piano being played. And I found out later that it was Ted Turner who was playing the piano.
Oh, fun. That's very cool. All right, so Stuhr Museum is going to reopen soon, so please hang out at stuhrmuseum.org for all the info on that. But this has been a tour of a house that you've been into with, I bet, some facts that you didn't know.
Probably.
All right. All right, we'll be back for probably one of our last behind-the-scenes videos next week. So thank you for watching.